If you look at like every single MSP website ever, unless they've worked with us, it's like, we do IT so that you can focus on your business, and it's like, that's what everybody says. And that's kind of the wrong, I guess I'm not supposed to say it that way, but I'm supposed to lead you there so that you can conclude that it's the wrong thing. But I'm just, spoiler alert, right? And I think that this is a real natural evolution of how managed services has evolved.
This is Start, Grow, Manage, where we help managed service providers achieve the impact, freedom, and wealth you imagined back when you started your company. At Start, Grow, Manage, our tools, practices, and processes help you engage, energize, and execute on building a business that empowers an extraordinary life. Learn more about our programs and how they can fuel your fire at startgrowmanage.com/learn more. Let's go.
Hello, world. Do you ever take a programming class, Joe?
Like programming? No.
Yeah.
No.
It's like the first thing in I guess we call it.
Oh, I remember Hello World. Yeah, no, I've done like the self-guided programming class.
Yeah, exactly. We call it coding now. I guess the cool kids call it coding, but back when I was a kid, it was programming was the term of art. And yeah, the first thing you always did is you created a program that printed to the screen "Hello World," and it was all very exciting, So that's when you don't know what to say, just say "Hello World."
I had a Commodore 64.
I'm sorry about that. Really. But welcome, Start, Grow, Manage. We're going to talk a little bit today about how to turn your MSP into what's a good way to say it, Joe? Into a machine, into a business that does the work for you. Like, what's the best way? I keep struggling with adjectives here.
Look, we're going to show you how to automate your MSP so you can go on more vacations and make more money and have more fun, right? So there's all the other stuff, but at the end of the day, do you want to go on more vacations, spend more time with your family, and have more fun?
But to be clear, it's not really through automation. We're not talking about we're not showing you how to automate things. Like the idea here is really about how to actually create a business, right? And we were just at CCF, and
Awesome.
it is amazing to me how often the question comes up, right? How do we communicate more effectively with our clients? How do we get them to engage? How do we get them to pay attention? How do we get them to open the emails? How do we have more effective business reviews, whether you want to call them quarterly or whether you want to call them technical, because it's not in the name, it's actually strategic. Like, what do you want to do for the different business reviews? And these questions just come up constantly. And so I think that's, and that's really what we're fixing for MSPs is getting that business know-how together with your technical know-how to create that business that operates, whether you're there or not, whether it's automated or not, it operates effectively for you, delivering results.
Well, it's really building a business versus building a job, right?
Correct.
Like when I built my first MSP, all I did was build a job for myself.
Yeah.
It was a great freaking tech, even if I say so myself. But I built a job.
Yeah.
And it paid me well, but I had to work a lot of hours. When I built a business, I could work 30 hours or I could work not at all if I wanted. Like I took 3 months off when at each child being born, I took 3 months off, and I was able to take 3 months off because I had a team that could run the business without me there.
Yeah.
And that's really the whole point of building a business, is that you don't have to be there for the business to run. And I think the trap that I fell into, at least myself as an MSP in the beginning, the trap that I fell into all the time is like, nobody does it better than me, or nobody's going to know the answer to that question, or nobody's going to be able to help the client. And then it was just not true. Once I got everything out of my head and into processes, then other people could do it without me there. And that's the whole point. Like you have to run a business, not a job for yourself.
Well, and sometimes it might even be true, but it might even be true that they can't do it as well. But the question is, does it matter, right? And a lot of times there's just better ways to do it. And I think fundamentally the challenge that we come across, and this is in the IT space as well as in really any entrepreneurial situation, is this idea of, yeah, you have to be able to delegate. So there's a trick, John. There's a trick to delegating. And that trick is knowing what the business is, understanding what the business is so that you can delegate it. Because it's like delegating to somebody who just, if they don't know and you don't know, then they don't know how to do the work and you don't know how to do it. And you fall in that trap that Joe was talking about, how, oh, I'm going to give this work to somebody, but they don't do it as well as I do,
Yeah.
and then it all kind of falls apart, right? So you have to be able to delegate, and being able to delegate is not just a personal skill for the individual. It is, the business has to be set up to delegate. So I think that's a crucial
Yeah.
observation.
It's important. One of the complaints that I hear all the time is like, I keep having to hire people because nobody knows what they're doing. Well, yeah, nobody knows what they're doing because you haven't defined it. So yeah, they're not going to figure it out on their own.
Yeah. So I think, and so what we come back to is, in doing that, is I love this idea of, there's this fundamental thing between setting up a business as a job. It's like, I do IT. I'm really good at IT. And if you look at like every single MSP website ever, unless they've worked with us, it's like, we do IT so that you can focus on your business, And it's like, that's what everybody says. And that's kind of the wrong, I guess I'm not supposed to say it that way, but I'm supposed to lead you there so that you can conclude that it's the wrong thing. But I'm
Yeah.
just, spoiler alert, right? And I think that this is a real natural evolution of how managed services has evolved. I remember, back when I was doing work with Deloitte, and we were talking about how Deloitte services had to evolve. I think this is just the evolution of managed services, because I think there was a time when, it was all about break fix, right? It's all time and materials. And the problem is, you have no leverage and you only get paid when things break. But if everything's breaking all the time and everybody just wants things to work, then that's fine. But there's a point at which things just kind of work. Somebody was telling me the other day at CCF, they said, oh, well, but the computers aren't working because they're out of date. And I said, well, but for my wife, who's like your target audience, the computers are working fine. Right? All this stuff you're talking about is all happening in the background. She doesn't know anything about it. She's not going to call you because in her world, it's not broken, right? So that's where we get into
Updates.
this
What
idea.
updates?
Huh?
Updates. What updates?
Who cares, right? And legitimately, she doesn't care. And then you get into the MSP, which is a much better situation, because now you're paid for not breaking things, right? For things not breaking. But the evolution that we see is actually moving towards this business solution provider, where it's you're actually taking that MSP stuff. So when we say, hey, we do IT so that you can focus on the business, it's more like, we power your business. We focus on business technology so that you can do other things. There's a different story there around supporting the clients on those business focused issues, on growth, on improvement, on managing their teams, on all of the things that they need to do to get their businesses operating effectively. And the opportunity, Joe, I think this is the thing. When we talk about this, sometimes people are like, oh my God, this is another thing. But like, the opportunity here is huge,
Oh, well,
because
it's absolutely.
the growth, and this is one of the things that came out of CCF too, is like the growth in technology need is through the roof. The demand for technology is through the roof, but nobody wants to talk tech. What they want to talk about is how this applies to me. And so we're looking at 10, 11, 12% year-on-year growth in a market that is poorly addressed because everybody's talking about the wrong thing. They're all talking about, hey, we do IT. Don't you want to buy IT?
And that, my friend, is the problem.
Well, and that's the fundamental
Is the
problem, right?
problem, you know?
And And what it leads to is, and this is one of my favorite things, Joe, you're going to like this, right? Is a lack of differentiation. Because another thing I heard, I don't know if you heard this as well, Joe, is people complaining about price pressure, about people complaining about competition.
Yeah.
Did any of that come up in your conversations?
It did. Well, it comes up all the time. Everybody's like, "Oh, there's all this price pressure," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, because you're doing maintenance and janitorial work and plumbing and infrastructure and all that stuff. So there's going to be price pressure. You're not talking about their line of business application and the real problems that they're having and that they're trying to
Correct.
solve. You're talking about your stuff, not their stuff. So there's always going to be price pressure when you're talking about your stuff.
And
You
we
know,
can explain that, right? So one of the tools that we really like to use to think about differentiation, because that's the word that everybody wants. It's how do I differentiate my MSP? How do I
yeah.
differentiate my MSP? Well, you have to differentiate in their language, in their words, in the way that they think.
But see, what I hear all the time is like, "Oh, how do I different? Oh, I know, I'll sell cybersecurity tools. Oh,
Yeah.
I know, I'll sell." Like, that's not differentiation.
So, and I'm going to show you why, right? I'm going to show you why, because this is a model that we have from Harvard Business Review. Here, I'll do the credits here, right? So from
Yeah,
David Paulus and Michael Ruckstadt. So we
rush that.
didn't
Yeah,
make this up, right? But the idea is that you're going to, there's sort of three aspects to your strategy and your market approach. There's the customer needs, company capabilities, and the competitive offering. And where your capabilities overlaps with the customer needs, but doesn't overlap with the competitive offering, right, is the competitive sweet spot. And what's happened over time, right, is that competitive sweet spot has shrunk. So the problem we have is that when you're talking about all of these issues, when you're talking about, well, why am I facing price competition? Why are people not buying from me? Why is this happening? Or if you're trying to solve the problem by just selling the same thing that everybody else is selling, you keep
yeah.
focusing on that little tiny yellow sliver of differentiation rather than separating yourself out from everybody else.
How are you different than those guys? Oh, we use different switches. Oh, how are you different than those guys? Oh, our RMM is not their RMM. That's how we are different than those guys. You have to, yeah, like that's not differentiation, guys.
Yeah,
It's not.
and that's actually a really
Oh,
interesting point. Everybody wants to talk about, well, we have a different RMM, or we have a different this, or we use a different
yes, yes, John
technology.
Noop. That's right, John Noop. It is commoditization has become a race to zero.
Well, it always is.
Yeah,
Commoditization, like the economics is pretty clear about this, right? Like if you have two people competing in the same market for the same thing, and it's the same offering to the same customer, and there's two people and there's one customer, then they're going to extract all the value out of the market from you. Like you're just going to continuously lower your price until it's painful, and it's goes straight to zero very quickly. So that's what we're working on in the accelerator, actually how to separate yourself, how to differentiate yourself, how to present your MSP in such a way that you can create that scalable business that allows you to take 3 months off with your kids and have it continue to operate. And these are like the fundamental tools that we've seen clients use over and over again to get into a space where they're charging $1,500 a seat, where they are in a market with no competition, where they are able to grow. Like F1IT followed this process and doubled in a year, in less than a year. Actually, they doubled in a couple of months. It just took 6 months or to make the decision to take the action.
to take the action.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
A couple of months they knew what was happening, but then they had to take the action. Then when they took the action, it was a game changer.
Yeah, it was a game changer. It was quick. So these are the tools that we have put together. I'm trying to think of other great examples. Well, we've got George from BizTech Pro who's transformed his business. He's actually doing a really interesting thing because he took all of these tools. he has restructured his business, and then he used the tools to start a new business, which we're all very excited about, and we'll be talking more about right here very soon. A new business that he's creating, and one of his comments was, "It's so much easier to start right from the beginning. Just get it right from the get-go, so that you don't have to reinvent later." And so, even if you're just starting out, like, this is the way to get those tools that you need to build your business. So, if anybody has any questions or wants to chat about that, feel free to ask your questions. And yeah, what do you think, Joe?
What I think is that when you differentiate yourself, like you said before, you can command price, right? And how you differentiate yourself, how F1 IT did it, how George did it, is by really understanding what is the problem that their customer has
Mm-hmm.
and how they solve that problem, their business problem, not their technology problem. Very often, when I'm talking to an MSP and I say, "Well, what is the problem that your customer has?" They'll say things like, "Oh, well, their updates aren't happening on time, or their computers are slow, or their..." That's not the way the problem occurs to the customer.
Ever.
The way the problem occurs to the customer, like I did a lot of work with ophthalmologists, and the way the problem occurred to them was, I'm not seeing enough patients because everything moves so slow. But not the computers. To them, is like their system. Everything is slow, right? But they don't know how. It's not about the individual computer, or it might be their problem. They don't know what it is. They just know they're not seeing enough patients. And how do I see more patients? Or how do I provide a better patient experience? Or
Or
how
their
do I...
team is obsessed, or is having to focus too much on all this tech stuff, or they
Yeah,
have to touch the tech that they hate touching, right? There's
but but sometimes they don't even talk about the thing. Like, I work with architects a lot. And when I work with architects, one of the big deals is like, oh my God, it takes forever to get an architect onboarded. Like, it takes forever. Like, why does it take us like 3 months to get everything working right? Right? And that had a lot to do with the technology, but that's not how they're talking about it. And so you have to understand what that business problem is and talk about their business problem. Oh, we help you onboard your architects in 2 weeks. What? I want that.
Yeah.
And so it's really about helping them solve the problem that they're having, their perceived problem in their business and their language. And if you can do it that way, man, it's a game changer, because then you can command price, because you're no longer solving a technology problem. You're solving a business problem that they have that makes them more money, and they will pay whatever for that.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is, not only will they will pay for that, and the true secret is that as their willingness to pay goes up, you are actually offering a higher value product. And because you're offering a higher value product, well, so the reason they're able to pay is because you're offering a higher value product. And now that it is a well-defined high value product, your cost starts to come down. So there's a feeling that the amount of time I spend on something is directly related to the value of that thing, but it's actually not. Nobody ever cares about how much time you spend on anything. What they care about is what they get from it. So when you keep doing the same thing over and over, when you've got great solutions that you can then repeat, your cost for delivery comes down. And that means that you end up making more money than even if you just increase the price.
Now, you know what's really funny? Your cost for delivery goes down, and their results that they
Go
produce
up.
go up. So they're willing to pay more money for the thing that now costs you less money to do.
And that's the reality of it, right? Is that, huh?
Yeah. About 6 years ago, I had an ablation. I had an atrial fibrillation, right? And when I had the AFib, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I thought I was having a heart attack. So they rushed me to the hospital, right? And I went to a hospital, which I'm not going to name the hospital that I went to, right? But I was in the hospital and my heart rate was 250. Like it was like I thought I was like I had ran a marathon or something, and I was at rest, and my heart rate was sweating, and my heart rate was 250. And they came up to me and they said, "Look, you have to go have this surgery right now. It has to happen right now. You got to sign this paper right now because you could die." Right? And I was like, "Shit, I'm gonna have to sign this paper right now." Right? And then the guy with the paper went to get the papers for me to sign. And this doctor walked up to me and he said, "Listen, I've been in this hospital for a while. You should not sign that paper now because they're no good at doing that kind of surgery here. This is the guy you need to go see. He's done 2,000, 3,000 of these surgeries just in the last year, right? Yeah. So you should go see that guy because they don't know what they're doing here with this surgery." And listen, I'm not, you're going to have to sign yourself out on your own. If you die, it's on you. It's not on the
So you
hospital.
went to this other hospital and
So
you
I
were
went to the other guy. I freaking left. And I went to the other guy. And the other guy made me feel like, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. And he was in and out. And it was great. And I've never had a problem since.
yeah.
And I would have I paid more. And I would have paid 10 times more.
And the point is because he's doing this over and over again, that's the thing that he does. It's easy for him to do it, but you end up your willingness to pay more goes up because you know that he's more likely to give you the right results.
I'm alive, Jeff.
You're alive as a result. So that's the key, is to make sure that you're driving down the cost, but you're getting more value as a result of what they're getting more value as a result of what you're delivering.
100%.
And so, that's what, again, at the Accelerator, we're going through the steps around how to do this, around how to create a product, around how to understand the real business value of the product, how to create a business case for your prospects, how to get your pricing right, how to actually create this around customer needs so that you go from that little tiny sliver to getting closer to the customers and dramatically increasing your competition, right? Or your competitive sweet spot. And we give you get the tools, you get the support, you get opportunities to ask questions. All right. Well, I don't know if we have any questions, comments, concerns. I don't see any coming through at the moment, so that's all fine. If you do want to get in touch with either one of us, probably the best way to do it is to go through Carla. So Carla, can you just share some contact information up there so that they can get in touch with you? Awesome. So there you go. Have a chat with Carla. And on that, I think that's all we've got today. Anything you want to add, Joe?
Well, the last piece, as usual, is I want everyone to remember that you are loved. Thank you for being in our lives. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more. Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.